just look out and see everyone here today. And I know after yesterday, which we had a record crowd, it was just wonderful last night. I partook in the reception dinner, and I know I saw many, many faces that Yvonne and myself enjoyed conversing with. It's my distinct pleasure today to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Yvonne Spicer. She's a former elementary, secondary, high school engineering educator. She's been an administrator, and currently she's vice president of the Advocacy and Educational Partnership for the National Center of Technological Literacy that's housed and based at the Museum of Science in Boston. Her goal is to integrate technology as a discipline across the nation to inspire the next generation of engineers and innovators. Common goal that we all have, right? The difference is that she travels across the nation and provides educational materials and programs to encourage problem solving, design analysis, and supports the states in developing their standards and assessments that are so critical to the partnerships that we'll need to develop and outreach that will need to occur. She received her bachelor's and master's here at SUNY Oswego and earned her doctorate in 2004 from the University of Boston. I've known Yvonne for many, many years, and I won't mention how long ago it was, but we were in a very large department where class sizes were similar to this. We were one of 3 women in the department, and we were really fortunate to learn and be encouraged to pursue our goals. I think that's reflected in her day-to-day passion and commitment that she has given our profession over for many years in our field. She is a true leader. She's committed to the development of our programs, and she encourages participation of the non-traditional students, so female students, the students of color, and that opens the doors for those young people to careers that will expand and enlighten their futures. In 2012, she was honored by ITEEA as a distinguished technology educator. She's been recognized by the MAP iTech, which is the Journal of New England Technology, as one of 10 women to watch. She's now a member of the STEM Advisory Committee formed by the National Governors Association, the Center of Best Practice, to help governors form their STEM agendas. She also leads a Gateway Project, which is a 3-day intense STEM training program that she's offered nationwide and it's modeled across the United States. Before I turn you over to our guest speaker, I'd like to read a small excerpt from one of her articles to which I think we can all relate. And this is really going to give you a real feel for Yvonne. She wrote, "I once taught a student in my high school engineering drawing class. He was bright and full of questions. I was shocked to learn that he was struggling in other classes. I think he did well in my course because it offered him a chance to apply his knowledge to something that was tangible. He constructed models based on his own designs. Engineering and technology becomes the vehicle for students to learn other content." And I think we can all relate to that. I think we all agree. It's easy to see why Yvonne has been described as a trailblazing educator who's challenged stereotypes about minorities and our field of technology education. She's developed the STEM programs that inspire, encourage, and increase the potential for success for all children. In her own words, she said, "I've tried to build bridges over which others can walk, and I will use every tool I have to try to reach young people." I'm sure you agree with me, we need more leaders like that in our field that have the same passion and commitment. We're very fortunate that she chose SUNY Oswego as her career path, and her passion and commitment to foster the growth of our discipline and accessibility for all students will continue to have a major impact on our world. I know you're anxious to hear our keynote, so without further ado, I introduce to you Dr. Yvonne Spicer.
I am deeply honored to be here. When she called and invited me, I said to my assistant, I have to go. Do not schedule anything else on my agenda. I will travel, and she quickly reminded me, you already committed to be in New Hampshire. When am I out of New Hampshire? Well, you can make it by Wednesday evening to leave New Hampshire. I literally left New Hampshire. I was doing a workshop there, and got home, dumped out the suitcase, repacked it, and I said, I gotta go to the airport. Time to go to Oswego. So I am thrilled to be here. And before I start, and Donna said something very profound. This really is about the give back. And for me, to come here to Oswego, this is a university that gave me so much. And I was deeply moved last night to see some of the professors and the people that have shaped who I am. And if you're in the room, just stand up and just wave at me. All these people that have touched my life and made Young Spicer the trailblazer that she is. I see you, Dr. Sorensen. John Bell, I saw Carl saw Vegas. And Phil Gaines, but these were some professors that gave me tremendous amount of love and appreciation and encouragement. So I do what I do today because you helped me move the chain, so to speak. So now, back to my people, tech educators. And when I thought about this presentation, I thought about what would I entitle it. First of all, how many of you in this room are over 40? Okay, so you all remember when we used to be industrial arts, and there might be some of you in the room that remember when we were manual arts. So we are now technology education, technology and engineering education. And if you look at most professions, they kind of stay stable. We are the one profession that has to change in order to grow. So that's why I entitled this presentation, Keeping the Momentum Going. And at the end of the day, everything we do, it's not about us, it's about our children. And I'm preaching to the choir. You all make the trip to come to this conference. So I know there are people in your districts that you say, he or she should go to that conference. And so I know I got the choir with me. So we're going to go through this, and hopefully I will give you enough to go back. And that person that's sitting there said, you got them in your building, the one that has a calendar and starts ticking off the days left to the end of the school year. How many of you know those people? One more. School vacation day. They've already done it. They're on vacation already. So hopefully you will be able to inspire some of them. And one of the things I look at is I want to see our kids excited about learning, keeping them growing, because this does not stop later. It starts early. That they have a future that includes a cap and gown. And whether it's high school, whether it's middle school, whether it's here at the university, that's my goal always. So when we think about it, ultimately here, because I have selfish reasons, I want kids with good jobs, paying good Social Security, so there's money in the fund and I can selfish, I'm not kidding. Get all out, get those kids up moving. Just to kind of give you a context, because I really like to examine sometimes where we came from and where we still have yet to go. We have been involved in a lot of stuff over the last 10, 15 years. And I personally have had an opportunity to participate in a lot of initiatives about moving technology and engineering education forward, to show the context of tech ed in education and juxtaposed to science and mathematics. And one thing in particular that is coming that I'm excited about, for the very first time ever, there is a pilot test for technology and engineering education that will be given by me. And it's a pilot using 8th graders. That is huge. Technology standards and design are part of the NGSS standards, which is the first step towards potentially having standards that many states are doing, rather than 50 little countries doing their own thing. So we're seeing some great movement that I'm excited about. But we got a problem, huge problem. Just if you look, and you may not read it all, but on the far left, 4 million students entered 9th grade in 2001. And over the course of the years, how many start to drop off. And by the time they get to STEM graduates, only 167,000 kids wind up. 4 million versus 167,000. And we're dropping them along the way. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that they are not seeing the value added of STEM education. So we have to think about this. And then it's important to analyze it. I like data. Data always tells me how we're doing as a nation, how we're doing as a state, how we're doing as a school community. And are there changes? Are we prospering? Are we growing? Let's take a look at this chart real quick, and I'll break it down quickly. This is the NAEP assessment for 2007, and I kind of look to see where we are, have we made, and I'm going to show you something else that shows whether we've made some progress. In red is the United States. So, but if you look at this particular assessment of NAEP, Massachusetts and Minnesota was treated as if they were their own separate country. and sometimes they think they are too. I have to tell you, in my home state, Massachusetts, they love beating their chest. Look at us. Like, be careful. Put yourself up on a pedestal, somebody will knock you off of it very shortly. But if you look, on 4th grade science, kids did fairly well in Massachusetts. They dropped down a little bit in 8th grade. Same thing in the United States. This picture is the same thing as we start to look at also other countries. How do we compare in math? Massachusetts 24, about 29. Not good. I'm sorry, not Massachusetts, United States. We still have not done well. And then when we start to look at the 2012 data versus the data from 2003, we haven't made much progress. We've been pretty flat on. We scored almost exactly from 10 years ago on the PISA exam. Same thing for 12th grade. If you look at 2005, there was a slight increase, but unchanged since 2009. So we're just kind of flat. Now, first find New York State. I'm your state. The darker the color, the better position you're in. Here's NAEP on 4th grade, 2012. Look at math and science. Here's 8th grade. New York State, here we go. We're in the kind of 3rd, 4th quartile. Same thing in 8th grade. So certainly Massachusetts has done well. New York State has a little bit more work to do. But trust me, even though it says that Massachusetts is doing really well, we know as we start to go individually by school districts, things are not happening. So let's take a look. I like to look at it, disaggregate data by race too. Because as you start to look at it in math, what is happening for schools? Algebra, pre-calc, calculus. Look at who's taking calculus. Look who's taking algebra. Now, those of us that are engaged in STEM fields, we know that in order to kind of move forward, we need to be taking some of these higher order math courses, pre-calculus, calculus. Look at science. Biology, just about everybody's getting it. Chemistry, physics, few less, and more so physics. So we know engineering, you gotta get physics. You gotta have physics. And look at the pipeline. Who's getting physics? Males, females, black, white. So you're starting to see overwhelming Asian students are exceedingly taking everything. Now, it's really important, and I think we have to bring it back to what's important, business. And this is a quote from the chairman of Raytheon, and he's really clear about it. We're training too many students and adults for jobs where the labor surpluses and the demand is low, while high-demanding jobs, particularly those in STEM, go unfilled. And we're not just talking jobs that need a 4-year degree. It could be a 2-year degree, a technical degree. These are the jobs that you as tech engineering teachers are able to help kids pursue. Now, when we started to look at what degrees people were getting, clearly, overwhelmingly, look at male, female. Females are heavily represented in education. Heavily. But in engineering, look at the complete opposite. So it tells me clearly that females are actually thinking more about how we teach and learn rather than necessarily some technical things that we can move forward. And then we start to disaggregate by women. Look at those that are pursuing STEM fields. Psychologists, overwhelmingly. Look at mechanical engineering, very small. So it's telling me women would rather be in your head than be under the hood of a car and understand how it works. They're analyzing you all the time. Now let's look at the workforce by race here. On the left, we look at science and engineering workforce, and pretty much by race on On the right, it's by race and ethnicity. So the workforce itself, overwhelmingly 67% white male. And then we start to look on the other side and breaking down the little slices here, 74.5% of those that are engaged in science and engineering are white males. So it kind of gives you a perspective of looking at where we are in terms of work. And one of the startling things for me is that roughly 20% of our population is functionally illiterate. And I had a nice conversation last night about literacy and how kids access knowledge. If you can't read, you can't access. So that's a critical issue. How do we improve? So you thought it was all about STEM, but you've got to look at the full circle that all of these things touch on the impact of where we have workers and workers that are competent. And then start to think about it in the next 10 years. Look at where the jobs are. This is a reality. This is a true reality. There are companies begging for work. And so I kind of think to myself, as you start to go on, for every STEM job, there are 3.6 people looking at for every 1.9 STEM job. Look at the data. The data is not enough people are in there. So how do we shift the paradigm? And then I start to look at how do we get paid? Clearly, the STEM jobs you're getting paid fairly well. Associate's degree, those with doctors, you get paid very well if you have a degree or some type of experience within STEM. The key for us is changing perception. Kids think this about STEM jobs. Now, I have to tell you, I'm very deliberate sometimes because, you are a technical background, an engineering background. There's a perception, there's a wheel that go on. And I purposely, I said, when you don't have any hair, you got to put a dress on every now and throw some earrings on. You got to look cute once in a while. And, and even when I was here at Oswego, I remember my classmates, because as Donna said, there were only 3 women in the program. We had 400 guys. And all my sorority sisters said, boy, you got all the date potential over there. I said, you don't understand. They said, Yvonne's a good tech ed guy. It's like, Yvonne's not a guy. So I've never dated a tech ed guy. But the reality is the perception of what you can do. And I purposely always dress for the occasion to teach. I can teach this and still go get my nails done and look fabulous, as I always do. Now, but we have to make a shift with it that is creative, it's fun, you're helping someone. And this is the other thing, I always say to my colleagues, they say, oh, we can't get any girls in the tech ed program. I heard, oh, we can't hire any women in tech ed. Well, when I was department chair, I found 4 of them right off the bat and hired them all. So I increased the women population by 400%, where there was none. So, you have to be deliberate. And if you don't have girls in your class, why not? And we'll talk a little bit about that too. Girls don't always want to race cars or blow up something. They want to help somebody. So there's a way to change perception. And I think we can do a lot better than we have as a profession. Because here's the thing. This STEM agenda is about kids. It's about us. And you know what? I've worked tirelessly in my state and around the country to raise the bar for tech ed. And I remember trust me, it wasn't always easy, and especially with tech ed folks too. I had one guy say to me, "Yvonne, you're killing me. You're going to make me lose my industrial arts job." And I said, good. Good, because you shouldn't be doing that. Really? How is that helping? You need to think ahead of the curve, because that's what our profession requires. So I think I've tried very hard to move the message to Washington. And I had a great meeting with Arnie Duncan. And I have to say, President O was in the room, seeing the picture, he's in the picture. But the reality was, what I thought was going to be about a 5-10 minute meeting with Arnie Duncan turned into a 45-minute conversation. And as a result of that kind of experience, race to the top. See, it has that STEM priority. STEM education became a priority as a result of some movement in those meetings. And looking at Congressman Joseph Kennedy, my favorite ginger. He's adorable. He's absolutely adorable. He is on the Science and Technology Committee, so he is working tirelessly to make sure there's legislation that impacts STEM education. And Joe's great, just a terrific. The other fellow, that's the president of the Museum of Science, Dr. Jonas Mialis, who was the former dean of Tufts University. And when he decided to start this movement called National Center for Technological Literacy at the museum, he said, Yvonne, I went to dinner with him and his wife. He was telling me, I think about this idea. And I had worked with him before on some work at the Department of Ed when I was heading up technology education at the DOE. And he said, I think we need some deliberate focus, not on weekday STEM education, not just the S and M. We need to focus on that T&E. And what does that look like? And as a tech ed teacher, you know best. You know K-12 education. So I think we need a real deliberate effort to focus on professional development for teachers to understand the connections. And I said, oh, what a fabulous idea. This is great. He said, you think? I said, yeah. He said, come run it for me. So, initially I said no to this job because I was having a fun time in my school district. He came back and he said, come on, Yvonne, you got to do this. What is it going to take to move this agenda for you? And I said, how many people get asked not only once but twice to create something revolutionary? So that was 9 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. And then looking at the governor, this is the governor of Massachusetts, Governor Patrick, and he also is on board. And as a result of it, he has provided money to the legislators for STEM education. He's actually, this is his last term as governor, but he is making sure that there's bills in place that will sustain the effort of STEM education in Massachusetts. But it is amazing. So I just figured I had to bring it home so you can see my home. Now there's our building that sits there with the dome on it, and I overlook the Charles River. That's what I get to look at. And one side, that's Boston. On the other side is Cambridge. So we sit right in the middle of the water. But it's a really beautiful view. And inside the museum, we have taken this initiative and said, you know what? Museums can't be left out of this because they're like classrooms without walls. So we have deliberately created design challenges right on the museum floor. This is one of our most popular exhibits that includes lots of parents and students as well. They're very competitive on the floor with these design challenges. Huge leap of faith for the Museum of Science. Why would a museum where you pay your money, you come in, you enjoy the exhibits, ooh, dinosaur, yay, lovely, ooh, theater of electricity, ooh, why would they care about what goes on in schools? And that's where our president has put his seal of approval and said yes, because the teachers can see that kids can work on STEM projects and they can do it in their classroom really easy. It makes it accessible, especially for elementary school. Because this starts before middle school. It has to be in the elementary school. And this is part of how we have thought about this issue. First of all, we all work under the guise of standards. Whether New York State standards, I'm a native of Brooklyn, New York. So I knew that, I'm a Regions baby. If I lived in Brooklyn and my family would have moved to Syracuse, I wouldn't miss a beat because we've always had those standards. And I also went to an exam school in New York City. I went to Brooklyn Tech. So I had a propensity for technical education, but I also had a very good quality education. And it was very standards driven. That has not changed. And it probably won't. And there are those, we're teaching to the test. Well, if it's a good test, so what? That's not the argument. What is the quality of what is being happening in the classroom? So standards, curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and research. Those are the things that we base our hat on. These are the things that we live by. Because if we research it and we find that certain things aren't working, then we change them. And that informs everything that we do. And moreover, we kind of look at how do teachers think about things. There's the science inquiry process, but there's also the engineering design process. And I will submit to you, too, that it is not either or, it's both. And they're ebbing and flowing. Because if you look, scientific inquiry asks the question, engineering defines a problem. Similar to the process where we build or create anything in communication, transportation, manufacturing, or any other area that we tend to work with. We've created a lot of stuff, and we've got a lot of resources, but it's all based on teacher testing, standards-based materials that have gone through about 2 years' worth of testing before we actually produce it. And that's been very helpful for us. And here's what we're working on right now, because we heard from the out-of-school providers. We need stuff for our school time. We've got it, elementary, middle school, and they're online. They're available for free. It's from a grant. We got $1 million from Raytheon to create these out-of-school time units. So they're available for free. So if you go to our website, you can download those for free. But we're working on engineering units for middle school that are very much connected to science units. And that's done intentionally because if they're going to be a core part of the teaching and learning environment, I am so sick of hearing tech ed is a what? How are you referred to in your school? You're special, you're elective, you're optional. To be a part of the core curriculum, you've got to have a connection to the core curriculum. And science is our strongest connection. And we need to know what those science standards are and ways in which we can work together. And last but not least, I need to talk about this project because at the end of the day, you can have the most enthusiastic teacher that wants to do these projects and wants to connect STEM education, but if you don't have strong leadership supporting you in this, and it's systemic, it's not going to be sustained. How many of you have used Project Lead the Way? A lot of you have Project Lead the Way. And Project Lead the Way is a great program. And I used to be the Project Lead the Way state leader in Massachusetts. But one of the things that's challenging, you have a teacher get training, teacher leads your district. How many of you have ever seen the Project Lead the Way teacher leave the district? A couple of you have lost teachers. And as a result of it, that's an investment that can't go on. So you have to find another sustainable way in order to keep the momentum. And the same thing with the STEM initiative. That's why I developed with the college the Gateways Project, which is about strategic leadership and sustaining leadership around STEM education. You cannot participate as an individual. You have to come as a school district team. And you have to have an administrator with some authority on your team. I've had superintendents participate on the team, and it's been powerful to look at what has changed and transformed in school districts and the perceptions of educators and what they bring to the table. And this is kind of cute because I actually go on site visits, and this was a visit. It was a rural school in upstate, upper New Hampshire. And I looked out on the town, driving into the town on the little kiosk there. I said, wow, I'm the biggest thing happening in this town today. This is kind of cool, but I thought it was the cutest thing. And it was awesome to go and visit. This is a school district, literally one building school. You go from first to 8th grade, you walk down the hall. Literally, that's the size of the school. But the amazing thing that they were doing in this school with very little resources. Not a public school district. And this is first grade. Now the kids had an assignment where they had to build a structure that would support their little monkey. But before they could build, they had to design, and the teacher had talked to them a little bit about orthographic projection. So if you look at the little girl, that's her 3 views and her bottom, how she spells bottom, her top, front, side, and bottom. And first grade. And so what was the cutest thing, she was so proud of herself, her little monkey sat up there so proud, she goes, it works. So toothpicks and marshmallows. This was another visit I had, and actually very apropos, it was around Halloween. They had this first grade designed to build a container to hold Halloween candy. So a little girl was explaining with her little toothless smile, I like cats and I like pumpkins, so I'm going to design a pumpkin cat. I said, good idea. So Eva, that was her little sketch of her pumpkin cat. And there she is, proudly displaying her pumpkin cat. And then after building it, they had to draw about it. This is first grade, rural school district. So imagine these babies are doing this in first grade. Get ready, middle and high school teachers. These are the ways in which they're connecting the dots of their learning. Now, at the end of the day, how do you get there? And I love this chart because this is not easy. How do you keep that momentum going? How do you prosper as a profession? We've got to have a vision. You've got to have the skill sets, because that's the other thing too. A lot of school systems are struggling with not having skill sets. There's got to be a reason. What's in it for the teacher? What's in it for the kids? What's in it for the community? Why should they invest in tech engineering? Resources. Do you have what you need? Are you are knowledgeable about all the free stuff that's available. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have Project Lead the Way in order to do STEM education or tech engineering. There are many ways that you can do it on future. And you get an action plan. Then you get to a place of change. Now, this chart is really cool because it kind of shows you need to have all these pieces to get change. You have to change what you're doing. If you're missing any one of those pieces, you don't have vision, you get confusion. You don't have skill, you get anxiety. If you don't have incentive, you get gradual change. If you don't have resources, there's frustration. And if you don't have an action plan, there's a false start. So you have to be thinking about all of these components when you want to move an initiative forward. And I know constantly in education, there's several initiatives. Smarter Balance, PARC, Common Core, what else? Teacher evaluation, let's see, smart, what was somebody saying? SMART goals. I'm like, what's that? Oh yeah, I gotta work on my SMART goals. It's like, we have a lot coming at us in education. But how do we get out of our own way sometimes? How do we step outside of our traditional way of doing things and think about something different? And this is how we get to some change, and some positive change. So, just to give you a sense of where we've been, this is what we've done over the last, I'd say, almost 10 years. We've reached over 5 million students. We've worked on professional development with teachers. We offer that. We have colleagues that across the country. We have partners around the world. And I'm happy to say I've gotten a chance to do this work, not only in the United States. I was sitting with marketing folks, and they were trying to calculate how many states I've been to. And I think they figured I'd been to about 42 states since I've had this job. And I said, where haven't I been in Montana, Wyoming? I said, I guess I have to go west. I said, I didn't see what's in Wyoming and some of these places. But the real wonderful thing is that I've also gotten a chance to go abroad. And I head back to Belfast, Ireland in February to work with the Irish government on STEM education, because I had done some work with them years ago. And one of the more exciting things I got a chance to do to go to the Middle East and work in Qatar. And that was pretty cool. So it has been amazing. And as you look, we've been across this country. And that's since 2009. When I took this job 9 years ago, our president said to me, he said, Yvonne, I want every school in this nation to be doing technology and engineering by 2015. Now I said, we haven't reached every school, but we've touched a lot of schools. We still have plenty of work to do. And it goes back to looking across this country. There's an awful lot of work across this country. So I want to just share something with you. Let's see how we did this too. And this kind of summarizes it for powerful 2 minutes of video. And part of why I show this video, it encapsulates why I continue to do this work. Because we've come a long way, and especially when I think of technology education. I will submit to you that when I started this program, my degree says industrial arts and technology. And it changed shortly to technology education. Many of you in the room have a degree that said technology education. I think we need to really think, what's that next phase of change? Where is that puck going for our profession? And when I walk into a classroom and I see my fellow tech ed teacher saying, you know, they're squeezing me out, I look at what they're doing in the classroom. I said, how are you opening and embracing what is needed for the 21st century learning? And that is the critical point for us. This is an awesome opportunity for us to get inside the boat rather than standing outside with our nose pressed against the glass. We have an opportunity to take the lead. We're good at a lot of these things that connect the dots. So I encourage you all, if you take one thing, know that you can make a difference. Just as I talked about the professors that made a difference for me, in each and every one of their own individual way. I do what I do today because they gave me the space, the encouragement, and I still have the momentum to keep doing this. So I thank you. I'm ending on time, and it's all good.
We would like to thank everyone for coming, and we'd also like anyone that would like to stay for a few moments afterwards. We're going to have some pictures. I know that Yvonne had a special request for some of her special professors to come up and have a photograph, so we would like to have them stay behind. That's not an option. And anyone else that would like to stay chat with Yvonne for a few moments, you're more than welcome. And just a reminder, the ship's drawing will be conducted at this point before you go to lunch. So thank you very, very much. And really, I enjoyed it. I hope that you did too. Another